I will also invite back editor Elise McMullen-Ciotti, the senior editor of Two Books, which is the middle grade and young adult imprint, back onto the screen. And we
Hi,
will
Ronnie.
take, hello. We're going to take a few minutes to talk about the New Visions writing contest, which you probably heard referenced in that lineup as well. So, Elise, can you, for those who don't know, just give us an intro. Tell us about New Visions.
Yes, our New Visions Award writing contest. And well, it's a contest. It's a contest for authors of color and Indigenous authors who are just getting their start as writers who have like completed a full manuscript and have not published something traditionally. We began the contest because we wanted to open up this to those who don't always have the opportunity to share their work with a publishing house. And we wanted to also open it up to Indigenous authors and authors of color and really focus on that and give voice to that. The New Visions Award contest is for middle grade and young adult novels and graphic novels. It's not for picture books. Yeah, it is a great contest. It's, if you haven't heard about it, I would definitely go to our website and check it out. And we especially hope that people read up on it because it's pretty amazing.
It is. It's obviously a really good opportunity for aspiring authors. But why is it also something that librarians and library workers should be paying attention to?
This is a very good question. I'm so glad you asked that. Well, first of all, librarians really know about books. They know about the quality of a middle grade novel or YA novel. And I think that if they were to actually see that a book had won the New Visions Award, that they would know that they are dealing with something with real voice and real literary quality. And also something of a new voice that they can kind of pay attention to. And I also know, because I've met many of them, that librarians themselves are also most often the time have a little bit of writing going on the side. And they might also have a book that they would like to really push forward and see what they can do with their writing career. So we also welcome all those librarians who are quietly authors there in the background who would be interested in this contest if they're authors of color or Indigenous authors. So yeah, if you want to kickstart your publishing career too, you know what's good already.
And I'll be speaking with a past winner in just a little bit here. Are there any other winners that folks may recognize?
That's right. You have Olivia Abtahi, who was our New Visions Award winner, but also Shamile Syed Mendez and Axio, Tracy Alchemy Crowder, Louisiana Duarte Armendariz, who I mentioned earlier with Julieta. They were all winners of the New Visions Award and have jump-started their career from here. Yeah, we've got a nice list going on.
Yeah, an impressive lineup for a relatively young award. Um, and part of the promise from Lee and Low is for the winner is mentorship, right, with the manuscript and with the author. So can you talk a little bit about kind of that experience and what you want to give to those writers?
Absolutely. I have to give a little shout out to Stacy Whitman, who really thought about this award initially. She didn't want to just give the opportunity to Indigenous authors and authors of color to kind of get a foot in the door, but she also wanted to offer mentorship. She has a real passion for mentorship, and Leanne Lowe also, when we think about these new authors coming in, we actually are really committing to that person to bring them up and to nurture their writing. And we spend a good deal of time with these authors working on their manuscripts, and more than what a seasoned author may already know what to do. You send it in and then you receive some notes and all that. We really do a lot of workshopping together, and I've developed some lovely relationships with authors along the way in this. And a little shout out to Tracy Acme Crowder. Whenever we've texted each other, we're still quoting Monty from her book because it becomes very personal for us. So there, yeah, it's very, very important for us. Very, very important.
Yeah, that's so like money and or a contract is one thing, but mentorship is so valuable. This is the real deal. Okay, so just to close, I guess, if somebody is interested in applying or just learning more or reading about past winners, where can they go?
Yes. Well, you can go to our website, leonlow.com. That's where you're going to find all the information. And the contest opens on April 1st. So get in there and submit. I also just, even if you don't feel like it's perfect, submit it. Just make sure you finished it. It's got to be finished. But submit it, because sometimes along the way we come across manuscripts who might not quite be ready for us or right then, but that have the potential of being something later on. And we do let those authors know that to give them a little bit of encouragement as they go. And we've actually published some of those eventually. And India No More would be one of those, which has become one of our most successful books. So I definitely encourage you all, don't be too hard on yourselves. Just finish it and submit it April 1st.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Again, April 1st. If you're listening live and you have questions about it, you can use the Q&A box to send a question, and we'll make sure Elise sees that. And yeah, thank you so much, Elise.
Thank you, Ronny.
I will invite our first author guest, Olivia Abtahi, to join. And while that's happening, I will read a little bio. Born to an Iranian father and an Argentine mother, Olivia is a melting pot of distinct cultures. Growing up in the DC area, she always had a passion for cinema and storytelling. She's a graduate of NYU Film School and VCU Brand Center. Her debut novel, Perfectly Parveen, was published in 2021, receiving the SCBWI Golden Kite Honor, the YALSA Odyssey Honor, and numerous starred reviews. So welcome to Olivia, and we are, of course, here to talk about her new fantasy novel, Twin Flames, which won the New Visions Writing Contest back in 2017, and it is due to be released this August. So there it is, and it's got the little stamp on it. I like that. Twin Flames, tell us, we heard a little bit about it before, but tell us what it's about.
Yeah, first off, hi everyone. My name is Olivia Abtahi. My pronouns are she, her. I have brown hair with bangs. I am wearing a brown sweater, and I am, like Ronnie mentioned, Iranian Argentinian. So that means I'm half white Latina and then half Southwest Asian North African. So with light olive skin tone, with lipstick and eyeliner today. For folks who don't know, Twin Flames follows the stories of Layla and Bianca Mazanderani as they try to make it in their small Virginia town. As Iranians and Argentinians, like me, they are feeling a little isolated. While Bianca embraces her heritage, Layla rejects it. And when their neighbor's barn mysteriously catches on fire, they realize that a djinn has been at the heart of this, a djinn who was promised basically them. So they're trying to get to the bottom of this mystery, why this promise was made, and through it all, Layla gets mysterious powers. So these two twins who have nothing in common, who have always been at odds, must join together to save their small town.
Awesome. And since we're kind of fresh off the topic, before we delve into the details, can you speak just a bit about the contest and the experience of winning it and receiving that mentorship?
Absolutely. This contest changed my life. I was working full time as a filmmaker. I had queried this book to so many agents. The agent I'm currently with rejected this book because it wasn't ready yet. But like Elise said, I decided, you know what, it might not be perfect, but I'm going to submit it to the New Visions Award anyway. I submitted it, I printed out my book, and I put it away. And I told myself, that's it. I tried being an author. It didn't work out. I love filmmaking. I'm going to do that. And I just closed the door on on that chapter of my life. So I was floored when Stacy Whitman called me and said, "Hey, Olivia, you've won." And that has really launched my career as an author. This is my third book that's coming out. I have 3 more scheduled to publish after this. And without Stacy Whitman believing in me, there's no way I would be here talking to you all. So the New Visions Award contest was just, it's just incredible. It's absolutely made my life different. And I first heard about it because I read Axie O's book, Rebel Soul. And I loved that book with mecha bots and so much sci-fi in a Seoul, Korea set, hundreds of years in the future. And I saw that little medallion on the cover of that book and I thought to myself, wow, this is so interesting. And so that's how I found out about it. So if you are debating whether you should submit, please, please do. It is an incredible opportunity. And I thank my stars every day that Stacy Whitman, pushed me forward. And I'm so grateful to Lee and Low, Q Books, and the New Visions Awards.
And so, I mean, most of our audience, I would imagine, know you for contemporary realism, for Perfectly Parveen and that kind of thing. So, I mean, the two things I kind of want to touch on here are the fantasy and the mythology, and then the characters and the family of your story. But is fantasy is that where you come from, or is this did this come before, kind of in the chronology of your writing? Or what drew you to writing fantasy, I guess is another way to put it.
Yeah, so Twin Flames is actually the first manuscript I ever wrote. It was a NaNoWriMo entry in 2014. So it's been literally 10 years of working on this manuscript. So I started with fantasy, and then Perfectly Parveen and Oz Are on Fire are YA contemporary. And what's so funny is that that's what I'm known for. But yeah, I absolutely love fantasy and sci-fi. I was that 10-year-old up to her eyeballs in Dune, like at school, with the teacher being like, "Should you be reading this?" Shade's Children by Garth Nix, House of Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. I just ate up anything that could potentially have a flux capacitor in it. Like, I was there. Tamara Pierce, like any just any whiff of like fantasy or sci-fi. That is what I love. Even right now, I'm reading the Temeraire series, like the Napoleonic Wars with dragons, right? And so everyone's always so surprised that like I'm actually such a dork. And so fantasy has always been my true love. I'm lucky enough to have another fantasy series coming out later. That's middle grade. And yeah, at the end of the day though, I really just like to tell my story, and then whatever genre or age category it happens to fall into, great, but that's always secondary for my process.
Yeah, I was right there with you, with all of those fantasy loves. I feel like, I don't know, I think there must be a better term for this, but like Middle Eastern fantasy or Middle Eastern mythology is kind of having a moment, or it's on the rise. I'm seeing like
Yes.
books and golems and jinn, and they're popping up everywhere. So I wondered, as far as inspiration or research in that kind of niche specifically, did you have any favorite sources or inspirations or mentor texts or that kind of thing?
Yeah, first of all, Habibi, thank you for mentioning that because we are having a moment. Mentor text, The Ginny and the Golem, love that book. I forget the author. And then Shannon Chakraborty, or S.A. Chakraborty's works, Kingdom of Copper, the whole series has been amazing. So many other Southwest Asian, North African writers or Swana writers have definitely had an influence on me, but even just contemporary ones like Adib Khorram with Darius the Great is Not Okay, Abdi Nazemian with like a love story. Just seeing other folks from the same part of the world as I'm from has been wonderful. And unfortunately for me, a big inspiration for this book was when my father was raised Muslim, but coming to the United States, we didn't really follow a lot of Muslim practices. And so unfortunately, I had some close family members pass away. And that was kind of my first entree into like a fully Islamic ceremony, with the wailing and singing, the certain types of mourning, the graves facing Mecca, like the burial processes. And that's when a lot of the spirituality like really came forward for me personally. So I had all of these books in the back of, my brain just kind of simmering on the stove. And then these, unfortunate personal events were really kind of like the spark that gave me the courage to explore this further.
Yeah. Um, let's shift to talking about family then, because that really is the core of the story, despite all the action and the beautiful fantasy trappings. Um, I mean, I'm a child of immigrants, and I know about the rejection of the culture growing up, and then and also the kind of coming around to it. And it was cool to be able to see that in this kind of dichotomy of twin sisters. So I just wanted to ask kind of where the idea to approach this through twin sisters came from.
Yeah, uh, this has been mentioned before, but I have read a lot of books about twins who are like best friends. They can read each other's minds. And I wanted to tell a story of twins who were at opposite ends. Um, and here you have twins with the same identity, but who are exploring it in different ways. Well, same cultural identity. And they are um, kind of one is Layla, who is rejecting her identity and she doesn't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And the other is Bianca, who is embracing her identity and is kind of like, this is who I am. And she puts it front and center. Whereas her parents, they're the people who came over, and I'm sure you understand as well, these are the folks who kind of have to put their head down, get the work done. They don't want to be flashy. They want to assimilate. They want to do right. It's like the good immigrant myth. And so you have this, first generation of the children who are born in this country who are trying to figure out what that means for them. So their family comes at it all from different angles. Their mother is Argentinian, their father is Iranian, and then between the two of them, you kind of have a wide spectrum of what that means for each sister.
And I'm so sorry, we only have a couple minutes left. Um, this is a flash interview. Uh, again, this is epic scale fantasy, a lot of action. But one thing that was so striking to me was that you gave the space to have these kind of quiet moments with the whole family, not just the sisters. Um, and so I just wanted to ask why that was an important feature for you.
I think when your parents come from a country that you are not from, there are truth bombs dropped on you daily. And I wanted to show what that was like and to have scenes at the dinner table where the parents are explaining, hey, this is how the world works for us. This is how the world works for you. Pass the ketchup. I'm hungry. Um, and I needed those quiet moments because there's so much action, there's so much adventure, like you said, that I really just wanted to have breathers for all of these things to sit and process and absorb. And I think that once again, when you have so many identities and so many cultures, I think readers need a breather too.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, sorry this has to be such a short conversation, but everybody, Twin Flames, August 27th, I believe. There's a lot more to dig into, so definitely check it out. And Olivia, thank you. I'm excited for your fantasy career now beginning.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care. And I will now bring on Isabel Quintero, our last conversation. Isabel is an award-winning writer from the Inland Empire of Southern California. She is also the daughter of Mexican immigrants. In addition to Gabi, A Girl in Pieces, she has also written a chapter book series for younger readers called Ugly Cat and Pablo, a nonfiction YA graphic biography called Photographic, The Life of Graciela Iturbide, which received the Boston Globe Horn Book Award, as well as a picture book, My Poppy Has a Motorcycle. And I will add that I think yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, your new picture book came out called Mama's Panza. It's really amazing, so I definitely want to make sure that's on the map. Um, Congrats on that and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Isabel Quintero, and I am a light-skinned Chicana. I've got rounded indigenous features. I have short, well, long, copper-colored hair with short bangs. I've got eyeliner and lipstick, and my background is blurred out.
And of course, we're here to talk about Gabi, A Girl in Pieces. So for those who may not be familiar, could you just give us a brief intro to the story?
Yes, so my book baby turns 10 this year, and she, Gabi, A Girl in Pieces, is chronicles the senior year of Gabi Hernandez. She's a light-skinned Chicana fat girl, much like myself. Her dad is addicted to meth. He struggles with addiction, and her mom has really strict ideas of what it means to be a woman. And, and Gabi tries to find her voice through poetry. And that's ultimately how she's able to figure out or start the journey on figuring out who she is.
And so, yeah, again, it's been 10 years, which is a long time ago to to kind of recall a book, but I think this book has been a pretty steady part of your life since it came out. I guess I'll conflate a couple of my questions, but I wanted to get a picture of how you felt and how you viewed the book back 10 years ago when you first, even before it first hit the shelves, and that kind of evolution to how you view the book today.
Yeah, so when I first wrote the book, and I've said this like multiple times, like when I first wrote the book, I really thought, um, like I was really excited that I was getting a book published because that's what I had been working towards. Um, but I thought, my parents are going to buy a copy and my friends are going to buy a copy, and I will have said I published a book, I got a book published, and I will continue my career. I was trying to be a college professor, teaching rhetoric, and I thought this is it, right? Like this is what it's going to be. I was very surprised at the reception of the book, happily surprised. I would not have imagined 10 years ago that 10 years later, I was going to still be talking about the book, and it was still going to be used in the classroom and in classrooms across the country as it's still used. I didn't think it was still going to be banned, and that my intentions were still going to be questioned by people who didn't understand that I was just trying to write a story um, about kids like me, about kids who grew up in homes where parents have struggled with addiction, where they struggle with self-image, where they struggle with what it means to be a woman. And for me, in Mexican culture, and that's one thing that, I would have thought that 10 years later, we would have I don't know what I imagined us as like a society to just agree and say, hey, young women have rights and they should be treated with respect and they should be able to have, be autonomous with their bodies. But that's not where we're at today. So that's somewhat disappointing. But I'm happy that young people still connect with it, and that older people, adults still connect with it as well.
So on the topic of book bans, clearly still a huge issue and a growing issue. And Gabi has been sort of in that mix for 10 years now. So I wanted to ask, and you've already touched on it, but can you speak to the value of this story today? Because it's almost more relevant in a lot of ways now today.
Yeah, when I was a young person in my home, we couldn't ask questions about sex. The most I got, and it's literally like what's in the book, the opening page, like ojos abiertos, piernas cerradas, eyes open, legs closed. That was about as much birds and bees talks I got. And also sex is bad. And that was it. That was it. And there was a lot of questions and a lot of feelings of shame that I had when it came to like, oh, well, I have like sexual feelings. Like I'm a young person going through puberty, not only like dealing with issues of sexuality and gender, but things that I just couldn't talk about. And the same thing with addiction. Like in my house, we didn't talk about drugs. While my dad had been struggling with addiction for my entire life, we did not address the issue in our home. It just didn't exist. We didn't have money. My dad disappeared for days, but we didn't talk about it. And so I think that young people are still, we talk about fentanyl now, like this huge rise in overdoses of people dying from fentanyl use, from, we have the opiate crisis a few years back, still have it. And we are still struggling with these issues that we just refuse to talk about. And so I think that young people reading a book like Gabi, A Girl in Pieces, can find that they're not alone, right? That these questions, even though their parents don't answer them or address them, that they even exist, that they can see that, hey, other people have gone through this like I have. This isn't something I should feel ashamed about. I shouldn't feel ashamed about wanting to kiss a boy or wanting to kiss a girl or wanting to kiss someone who's non-binary or wanting, we should not feel any of those things. Yet we continue to ignore young people and act as if they are somehow these super innocent creatures that cannot, that should not be tainted with reality when they're in reality every day. And the more that we um, shelter them from issues that affect them directly, and the more that we silence them, I feel we've seen this over and over in the news with young people dying, being attacked because they're trans, being attacked because they're people of color, being attacked, being bullied. And so it makes me sad that it makes me sad that a book like Gabi is still relevant in this way. I wish we would have moved forward, but I'm also glad that young people can find space, for their emotions in a book like Gabi.
For sure. Sorry again about my connection issues. I hope
That's all
I'm
right.
you now. We are about out of time, but I'll give you one more question.
Sure.
You've been you've been among the readers and the young readers throughout this period. Are there any stories about them coming to you, how the book has influenced them directly, that have resonated with you or that stand out with you from over the years?
Oh yeah, I have emails, and I changed my website, so my email system has, I need to fix it, but I've had emails over the years and young people telling me, like, this is the first book I see myself in. In person, anytime I've talked about Gabi afterwards, I'll usually have like one or two girls. Um, I have one vivid memory of this, but I'll have like a girl come up to me and say, I've been through that situation, or I've been through this situation, or my mom is like this, or my tia is like this, or my dad struggled not with addiction, but with alcoholism, you know. But I remember being in Oakland and a couple of girls came up to me and asked me about, and this is spoiler, if you haven't read the book in 10 years, I'm sorry about it, but they find out that Gabi's friend Cindy has been raped, and it was date rape, and they came up to me and asked me if that was real. And we talked about it, and they shared with me that that had happened to one of them. And so those moments have been really powerful because I've gotten comments from adults telling me that that date rape scene, or not even a scene, but that element of the book isn't real. Like those things don't happen to teenagers. And so to hear back from a young person that says, no, this happened to me, was really, really sad. It made me angry, but also reminded me of like why I do this work, why I write for young people.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I can vouch that this book, although it's 10 years old, is as relevant as ever, as powerful. It reads so beautifully still.
Thank
So
you.
if you haven't checked it out, definitely make sure it's on your shelves. Make sure it's available to young readers because it's a great thing.